The Model 49 snow thrower is already legendary at moving snow, but with just a little bit of rubber and some hardware, you can seriously boost its throwing power. But there is one small problem. That extra pressure can bow the top of the housing and undo everything that you just gained. Therefore, I'm gonna show you not only how to properly do the flapper mod, but if you watch till the end, I will throw in a bonus reinforcement trick that will help you keep all that extra power and take some of the stress off of that housing. When John Deere designed the snow thrower, they needed to leave a little bit of a gap between the paddle and the plate on the backside of the housing where the snow ramps up into the chute. They had to do that because if they didn't leave that gap there and you ran over any gravel or sticks, mulch, anything like that, it could jam much easier without that gap there. So it was really just a safety precaution, but it also reduces the efficiency of the snow thrower. And with this being a single stage snow thrower, any improvement in the efficiency is gonna make a huge difference. And the first step to gaining some of that efficiency back is we're gonna have to drill holes in this paddle so we have somewhere to bolt through to bolt that rubber piece on there. All right, I did some measuring and I figure out where I need my holes. I'm using 7/16 inch hardware, so that gives me good spacing on those. I just went 1 inch off of the edge, and then this one of course is centered, and then the two outside ones are 1 inch in from each side. This auger is gonna want to turn when we try drilling into it, so we're gonna have to lock it in place. I'm gonna use some vice grips to do that. There we go. Now I can push on it. I will add one to this side as well, just in case. But now we have a nice sturdy auger to drill into. To make sure our bit doesn't walk, we will first want to center punch each spot where we will be drilling. And I really like these spring-loaded punches to do that. Very handy, and you don't need a hammer with it. Just punches all by itself. We'll work our way up to the 7/16 drill bit. So first I'm going to use a 7/32 drill bit. Now we'll step up to that 7/16 drill bit. Now that I got my holes drilled, I'm thinking 7/16 is probably a little overkill for this. You could probably get by with 3/8 inch hardware for this. Probably what I would do if I did this again. But now that the holes are drilled, we can go ahead and get our rubber cut to the right size and ready to go. As for what rubber I got, I opted out of doing a reinforced rubber, which is pretty standard for this, I believe. This is just a 1/4 inch neoprene rubber. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to hold up compared to a reinforced rubber. So time will tell on that, but this is definitely a cheaper option. So this is what I opted for. I think it's pretty common to use a baler belt for this mod, but I didn't have access to one of those, and they're actually pretty expensive even used. So there will be a link for this rubber in the description, and then I will also link up some reinforced rubber if you want to spend a little bit more and make sure that your flapper mod will last. As for the dimensions, I'm gonna go inside the welds on this, so that puts us at 4 3/4 right about. And then we'll probably go just above the holes here, and then I'm gonna overhang it 1/4 inch. So we'll probably go 2 inches and then add that 1/4 inch. So I'll probably do 2.5 inches, and then that'll give us plenty of support on the paddle itself. I forgot to hit record when I was measuring all this out, but here's what we're gonna cut out of this. And that's another bonus about this type of rubber, is that it'll be a little bit easier cut than a reinforced rubber. But there's the 2.5 by 4 3/4, and then I made a dotted line at 1/4 inch up, so I know where the paddle will line up to give me my 1/4 inch overhang. This rubber should cut pretty easy with just a utility knife. I'm going to use my straight edge as a guide. Got a just scrap piece of wood to cut on. And that cut really easy, which also makes me a little bit worried about the durability of it. but it'll be easy. All my holes will be drilled if I have to replace this rubber. I'll probably just keep on replacing until I use up this sheet if it doesn't last, and then go to a reinforced rubber. For now, it's a good proof of concept. Okay, now we can just put this in place where we need it. Line that dotted line up right on the edge of the paddle. Clamp it down. There we go. And now hopefully this will be pretty easy. I'm keeping my hands right on the edge of the rubber so I don't drill into my hand, but I'm gonna need to support it, so. I'm finding that just going slow and steady to drill into this rubber is working the best. It leaves a little bit of a chunk in it at the end, but we'll be able to clean that up. But going slow carves out the rubber instead of just pushing it through. You could probably just start the holes also and then unclamp it. And then drill it on a piece of wood. And that might help you get these cleaner holes. And now we just simply bolt it on. I'm going to put it on the front face of the paddle. So the paddle moves this way, so it's pushing the snow with the inside of the paddle here. So if we put the rubber on this side, as it spins, it would be pulling and putting pressure just on the bolts themselves. Whereas if we put it on the inside, then the pressure is distributed across the whole paddle. We will put the bolts in from the front also, and then it won't be the nut on the inside catching all the debris. And then that's an 11/16 if you use this size of bolt. And now you can see that flapper come up, taking all of that space in between the paddle and the housing. So if I shine a light from the back side, you can see it can get a little bit of light on either side, but there's nothing coming up where the main part of that paddle is. So this snow thrower is now going to be way more efficient. And now that you have this side all done, you're going to want to go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other side. And your Model 49 is going to be ready for some serious snow throwing. But that's where the next problem starts. See, with that gap filled up, now there's no place for any of that extra snow that builds up to go. So it's just going to be pushing against the shield right here and putting a lot of stress on the top of the housing. So that's where the angle iron is going to come in. But lucky for us, there's already 3 holes drilled up here that they used to bolt this plate on. So all we have to do is line up our angle iron, drill the holes in it, and then bolt it on with just a little bit longer hardware than they have on here already. And just like that, the snow thrower is all braced up and ready for that extra pressure. And now this piece that I'm using is 1.25" angle iron, and it is 3 foot long. And I decided to just leave it at the 3 foot long that I bought. I figured it wouldn't hurt overhanging a little bit on each side of where it's bolted. If you wanted to, you could cut it down to 2 feet and just have it where it's bolted down and where most of that pressure is going to be pushing up on. But I don't think it'll hurt having it longer like this. And besides that, I think it's going to give a really cool place to make some brackets to mount some lights up here to get some extra light out in front of the snow thrower for removing snow at night. But that will be for a different video. And also, if you're interested in anything else that I've done to this snow thrower, like adding this electric actuator or the speed up pulley that I put on it, I'm going to have a playlist right here for you. And please let me know in the comments if you want me to do a comparison to this snow thrower with and without this flapper mod done. And if you don't want to miss anything, definitely hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.